Let's take an analytic look at the monopoly. Suppose the monopoly produces 10 units of output. We know from looking at the demand curve that when the monopoly produces 10 units of output, consumers are willing to pay $50 per unit. And the marginal revenue is $39. That is, if the monopoly increases its output by 1 unit, its revenue will rise by $39. If the monopoly produces 12 units of output, this is more than 10, so producing more will cause the market price to fall slightly, and the market price falls to $48. The marginal revenue when the firm produces 12 units is $35. So if the monopoly were to increase its output by 1 unit, it would gain an additional $35 in revenue. When the monopoly produces 13 units, the price of the product is $47 and the monopoly's marginal revenue is $33. Now let's think about the cost curves that the monopoly faces. Monopoly has a marginal cost curve and an average total cost curve, and these things look the same as they do for firms in other industries. So whether a firm is monopolistically competitive or an oligopoly or monopoly or purely competitive firm, the marginal cost and the average total cost curves look about the same. So here's the marginal cost and average total cost curves, and we know that the firm's efficient output is 14 units. This is the minimum average total cost the monopoly is capable of attaining. So when the monopoly produces 14 units, its cost per unit is the lowest possible. Now what the monopoly wants to do is to maximize profit. We know that the profit maximizing output is where marginal revenue and marginal cost intersect. So marginal revenue and marginal cost intersect in an output of 13 units. At 13 units, the monopoly is maximizing its profit. Here's how we think about this. We first find the point at which marginal revenue and marginal cost cross. This gives us the 13 units of output the monopoly will produce. We then follow this output up to the demand curve. Following it up to the demand curve gives us a price of $47. So when the monopoly produces 13 units of output, the market price of its product will be $47. Go back to the firm's output of 13 units and follow it up to the average total cost curve, and you find an average total cost of $40. This means when the monopoly produces 13 units of output, its cost per unit is $40. So we have the monopoly producing 13 units, selling the units for $47 each, and it costs the monopoly on average $40 each to produce. So the difference between the $47 and the $40 is a $7 per unit economic profit. The monopoly's total economic profit is the $7 per unit multiplied by the 13 units that the monopoly is producing. So $7 per unit economic profit times 13 units is $91 in economic profit. This is what the monopoly looks like. Now, it might occur to you to ask, well, wouldn't the monopoly be better off if it produced 14 units? Because when it produces 14 units, its average total cost is lower. So let's think about this. If the monopoly produces 14 units of output, its average total cost drops from $40 a unit to $39 a unit. So clearly, from a cost perspective, the monopoly is better off. However, when the monopoly increases its output from 13 to 14 units, it creates a surplus of the product, and the surplus causes the market price to fall. The market price falls from $47 down to $45. So the monopoly is producing 14 units of output. It's charging a price of $45 each, and the cost per unit is $39. The difference between the $45 price and the $39 cost is a $6 profit per unit. The monopoly is making $6 economic profit per unit and selling 14 units. $6 profit per unit times 14 units is $84 in economic profit. This is actually less economic profit than the firm was making when it produced 13 units. So why is this happening? What's happening is we're focusing only on one thing, which is as the monopoly increases its output, its cost per unit declines. While this is true, it's only half the story. The other half of the story is when the monopoly increases its output, it drives the price of its product down. So now it's earning less money for each unit that it sells. It turns out that what the monopoly saves on cost by increasing its output and becoming more efficient, it more than loses in lost revenue because now the monopoly has to charge a lower price. So in total, the monopoly is actually better off producing the 13 units and producing inefficiently than it is producing 14 units and producing efficiently. So our conclusion here is that monopolies will make an economic profit and they will be inefficient. That is, given a choice between producing an efficient level of output and producing a profit maximizing level of output, the monopoly will choose to produce the profit maximizing level of output, and therefore the monopoly will be inefficient. From a society perspective, this means that the monopoly is wasting some of society's resources.